All right, welcome back. Under the Rug, episode 24. We were supposed to be discussing something else this evening, but unfortunately, one of my guests couldn't make it. I really wanted to revisit our very first topic under the rug, which is the brain drain issue with Bahamians just wanting to leave this country because they feel like the grass is greener on the other side. But like I said, my other guest is unfortunately unable to make it. So what we're going to do is we're going to tackle another issue today. And I am pleased to have the extremely busy. She has more jobs than Kevin Gates. I don't even think she know who that is, but she might because she was just listening to Vibes Cartel. So she might know who Kevin Gates is. But we have the very busy, wonderful Shar Hanson, my bestest white friend in the world. She's actually from Canada. And she's going to be joining in on a discussion with her fiance, who is usually on the podcast, as of late especially, Mr. J. Isaacs, who is no stranger and loves to lend his opinion to certain topics. So what we're going to get into, I think when I was messaging Shah, we started to discuss a range of topics that we could go over. But she told me a story that was quite intriguing, and it had to do with parenting. And anybody that knows me knows that parenting is a passion of mine, especially when it comes to what people like to call spanking, what I call bullying. But we're going to have a full discussion on that because I made a post the other day and it got a lot of back and forth, from people, the proponents of beating on children. Okay. We're going to do a full episode on that when I return from my trip to New Orleans because I'm traveling next week. So there won't be an episode next week because I will be in New Orleans going to watch Buddy Hield play the Super Friends, which is the Golden State Warriors. And so there won't be an episode next week, which is why I had to get this episode in. And what we're going to be discussing is the effects of, let's say, bad parenting on children when it comes to not just their regular life, but especially their school life and how it affects their performance in schools. Because Shah is a teacher. She's an educator. And so we can look at how family life really affects children's performance in school, because I don't think it's something that we address often. We're just often as a nation so judgmental and so quick to just label people as dumb or they don't want to learn. We hardly ever look into why they perform the way they do or the way they underperform. So what I think we should get into is those dynamics. What happens in the home which leads to the poor performance that we see in school, and not just in school, but in society as a whole, because we have a lot of social issues in this country. And I think it all stems from the home and parenting. And so let's get into it. Shah, welcome Under the Rug. And please, tell the people what you told me in that WhatsApp message with regards to, I think it was a particular student that you spent some time around and what they said to you.
Basically, I was volunteering this weekend with Lignum Vitae and 3 to 5 Days organization that we were giving out free water filtration systems. And basically, the kids, of course, were eager to help out and like seeing how to put them together and whatnot. And what we did, we went into several churches in the community and asked for the head of the household to kind of raise their hand so that we were giving one per household and trying to distribute as many as we could. Well, one little girl must have been maybe 10 years old, and she raised her hand and somebody said, "Oh, sweetie, where are your parents?" And she was there by herself.
Really?
She'd walked to the church herself. This was the day that it was pouring rain. I mean, she could have swum to the church because there was so much water.
Right.
She was there by herself. So she was the head of her household.
Wow.
And she was all excited to help put it together. And I was showing her how the pieces went together and talking about how important it was to have clean drinking water and stuff. And we finished and I said, "Thanks for your help. Here you go." And she said, "You don't want to adopt me, eh?"
Wow.
And
just
so,
like that.
So my heart was just like, and I said, "Sweetie, what would make you say something like that?" She said, My mommy don't really check for me like that.
Wow. And how long were you with her for? About?
I mean, we were at the church for about an hour, but that was within maybe 10, 15 minutes of talking to her, just like working with her on something. And I just thought, like, how sad is that a child would ask a stranger to adopt? Like, what kind of cry for help is that? And I don't know. I just didn't understand the situation, and I don't know what her family life is like. It's something that's been weighing on me, and I'm thinking, like, what can I do? How can I help? What how am I gonna do something?
And what did you say to her? Like, how do you respond to something like that?
I was taken so off guard. I just said, "Sweetie, I can't adopt you, but I'm sorry that you're going through something like that." I just said, keep being your awesome self, and keep trying hard, and you'll get out of that situation. It'll get better. It's kind of like putting a little sugar on something that is a really deep rooted issue, but I didn't know what to say. So,
Jay, how do you feel? What if Shar did adopt this child and just came over the child?
That was not going to happen. Something like that we would have to have some serious consultation. But I feel for the kid, and I could tell why. She's a very hands-on person. She encourages all her students. So the level of attention that she probably gave that girl in that span of 15 minutes was probably the most she's ever gotten in her entire life. And it's sad to say, because kids are usually around so many adults that somewhere they should fill that void from attention. I remember when I was growing up, it wasn't that my mother didn't pay us attention, but my mom was a single parent.
As most.
At the age, my dad left at the age when I was 6. Okay. So it was a constant struggle for us. So she was always hustling and making sure that we had food on the table. And then she reinforced our education, helping us with our schoolwork and stuff. But for the most part, until we were much older, that was the basic interaction. So I got a lot of reinforced attention from my teachers at school. And I had a lot of good teachers, especially early on in the government school. So for the fact that this kid could come to a perfect stranger, despite her pigmentation, and could say, you know what, I want you to take me away from the life that I have, because I believe, based on this short interaction, that I would have it better with you than where I am. And that is a very, very sad state of affairs. And sadly enough, there are more kids like that and feeling that way in this country.
And it's a lot more, because oddly enough, that's not the first. I've heard similar situations. Not so much the child asking someone to adopt them, but when you hear the backstory or you hear what these kids are really going through, it's like, and a common one is, you have kids that are school age themselves, yet they have, like you said, she's 10 and she's the head of the household. So you have kids that have to literally get their little brothers and sisters up, bathe them, get them dressed for school. Like, they are
being adults before their time.
Yeah, they're actually the parents. And they have to get their siblings ready, make sure that they get to school. And it's like, by the time you finish all of this, where do you have the time to, be a kid, or even to learn for yourself once you get to school? Like, where's your time? You're probably exhausted because you have to get up early to do all of this. So it's taxing. And what upsets me is I keep hearing people, especially on talk shows, just, and the parents bad, or the children don't want to learn, or they just dumb. Or we just so quick to just judge and just criticize that we hardly ever take the time to figure out context. I learned that people these days are allergic to context. Context is lost these days. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's too hard. People don't want to investigate. They're lazy. They don't want to take the time to know anything. They just want to slap a label on it, put it in a category, and brush it to the side, give it some generic solution. And if it doesn't work, well, this person can't be helped.
Because I even have empathy for the parents and all, because it's easy to just say, oh, this bad parent, you ain't checking for your child, but then there's a story there as well. Because let's look at situations where, let's say, you said you came up single mother. She worked hard, did her best. How many siblings did you have?
I have 3 other siblings that were in my household, so we were 4 kids.
Total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my mom was right. I don't know why you're looking across the table.
Because you're like, that we're in my house.
So it was 4 of you.
Yes.
Right. So she has to provide for all of you. Is her one. So a lot of people have to take up multiple jobs, which takes up most of your time. So you could very well see how the mother won't have time for like the little girl that came to you because she's to work all the time. Not saying that's the exact situation that she was in, but certain people are in those situations where they have to do so much that they just don't have time, for kids. And then you hear people be like, oh, well, they should keep their leg closed. Keep your leg closed. Don't have children. All these contraceptives out here, you ain't supposed to be having children. Which I get. I get it. I get it. I understand it. I get it to a certain degree. Yeah, you should be more responsible because there are lots of ways that you can, prevent yourself from having children. But I mean, at the end of the day, and it's not an excuse, but we human beings, when the good feeling get in, you know what I mean, that the hormones rushing.
Contraception is not readily available to people like that. It's what?
Wait. Hold on. We live in a free society where if you want to avoid having kids,
Hold on one second.
you can.
Let me see something. Okay, we're back. We're back under the rug. Having just had a few technical difficulties just now with the audio. For some reason, the mic didn't want to pick up what Jay was saying. So I don't know if Mike trying to tell Jay something, but
Mike was telling Jay that he wasn't supposed to cut me off. That's why.
I ain't getting in your old spousal situation there. Okay, Jay, I don't know if you remember your point, but could you continue on that point, please? You forget it, right?
What point was that? I mean,
I know now, it's been so long.
anyway, what happened? Do you remember it?
No.
I can't remember exactly.
Well,
where
speak
we
about
were.
what you was going to get into just now, because it sounded like you was about to get into something vital when it comes to parenting.
Yeah, I
when
mean,
you put on that label parent, what does it entail?
people, listen. And you were saying that you have empathy for them because there's a backstory to everything. I understand that.
Contraception, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
ahead.
contraception. There you go.
Yeah.
And you were making an excuse for people. If you want to, males, if you want to strap yourself up, go in the place and buy a condom. Women have access to birth control. There are female condoms. Pull-out method doesn't work, people. The whole raw dog pull-out method isn't working. So if you get straddled
Nor does
with
woman on top.
if you get straddled
Which
with
is
one
apparently
child,
a
right?
misconception.
You take that blow that Mother Nature gave you. You have your one kid.
Take that blow that
And
Mother
then-
Nature gave you.
A year and a half later, you got another punch to the gut, and you have another kid. And then you take another punch to the gut. 10 months later, and you have another kid. You have 3 kids under the age of 5, and you saying all men no good. What I could do, I so stress out. You did that to yourself. There's no excuse. You didn't learn from the first nugget that life put in the front of you.
And obviously we're talking about people who did not plan for this to happen, not just about people in general.
Well, I can be honest with you, Shar. You might have 2% of people in the Bahamas that is planned for children.
You think so?
No.
I think so.
Married people is get catch off guard too. They get caught up with that sweetness.
Let's be a little generous. Let's say 5%.
Okay.
Maybe 5% of the Bahamian population is actually planned for children.
Because if you look at it, children are a very, very expensive commodity.
Not necessarily,
When you don't buy into the hype of commercialism, you save some money.
Because look,
you save some money.
I agree.
But generally, taking care of yourself is expensive. Having to have a discipline to take care properly, take care of another
See, that's
individual.
Key. Yeah.
That's a lot of money. I
Yeah.
think a lot of Bahamians are really ready for that. That's why they scared like they're in the headlights.
Economies of scale, though. Once you have one, and then the next one can use the toys and clothes and everything that you bought it the first time, the next ones aren't as expensive until you hit college. And
Well, see, you're talking from a different. You're talking about. See,
Anyhow,
some people ain't got.
Some
people ain't even got no toys to pass down.
Exactly.
And then college ain't in plenty people future.
That's true.
But on what you said in terms of an excuse, I get it. I agree. I agree with you. You have to be responsible as a parent. You should be responsible and take the necessary precautions and think big picture. Think, if I do this act this way, possibly we could make another human being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We all know it. But what I want to get to is it goes to mentality. Like, why are people continuing to make these bad decisions over and over and over again? Like, what is leading to someone not being able to learn from the mistakes? Like, how are we socializing and educating our people so that we don't make these bad decisions over and over again?
There's not enough actual sex education. Well, I don't even mean not enough. There's none, as far as I'm aware. Even the private schools that I'm aware of who mention reproduction and stuff and make you watch a terrifying video of like a 1970s like birth happening with the baby coming out and everything. That's pretty much what they do. It's a scare tactic.
Right.
It's all scare tactics and not real information. And everything is all about, well, just don't do it. Just don't do it. Not what to do in the event that.
Right.
And that's how you end up with babies being born in the bush and stuff because kids are, I mean, I don't know who was the parent of that child, but kids, if they're too afraid to say that they're pregnant or that they're having sex in the first place, then how can they get information about it? If you don't have anybody you can turn to and talk to about what's happening. And in a lot of cases, it's also not necessarily their choice or they're being pressured into it as well. So I think so.
In 1990, that probably was. We live in an age of information, where anything that you want to learn, there's a do-it-yourself video on YouTube for it. Whether you want to learn how to put a condom on properly, whether you want to know the best birth control, your parents don't have to tell you nothing. If you want the information, it's readily available for you.
You have to want it. You have to go seek it.
And that's the thing. But what she said is important because
it is.
It's like you would be surprised how many people would stay away from the word sex. Like, sex is like a bad word. Like, it's taboo to even say that. Like, people are surprised when my 4-year-old daughter says vagina. Like, they're like, oh, what'd she say? No, it's
Thank
cookie.
you.
It's cookie, or they come with these little,
Stupid
cookie
words.
cutter. Yeah, these retarded, candy-coated type of words. Like, a vagina is a part of the body.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
what it
saying
actually
nose
is.
or shoulder.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. It's not like that here. It's not like saying nose or shoulder.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's some kind of derogatory sexual remark that should not be said.
It is the door in the house that should not be open and you should never go into. And when you go into that door, you are in trouble. That's what it is. And you mentioned it while we were off air. It's like control and
Yes. We use, and this is, I think, our the way we parent is super flawed. We try to restrict. We call it protection, but we restrict our children from doing things. We, like she said, scare tactics. We try to scare them out of things. It's all about restriction as opposed to exposure and teaching.
and we push them into limited practicality.
Which is true. And when you look at it, let's look at the whole, you remember back in the day with the BET issue on cable Bahamas.
Yes.
We want to ban BET, like music channels and stuff. Like, it's ridiculous stuff. Like, instead of teaching our children about these things, we would just rather try to keep them away from it, which is a ridiculous concept, especially in this day and age, because we live in the information age. They have access to it. They're going to find it. You can try and restrict it. You can put your parental block on your TV as much as you want.
You can hack the code.
Even if they don't hack the code, they could go online by their friends, or their friend might have it on there, and they can learn from their friend. So as opposed to trying to restrict and just ban, we need to expose them to certain things and teach them about it. Teach them what it is and teach them how they should respond when they see certain things, or how they should act in certain situations, as opposed to imagining that, well, this don't happen in my house, so it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, and it is not throwing everything at kids and hoping that something sticks. As they mature, you care them at the level that they're at.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have to know your children. And
Yeah.
that's why I say to people all the time, like, you have to learn your children. You have to get to know them. You should know your children better than anybody. That's how you're going to raise them properly, because you know the person that you're raising. You know their antics. You know what they respond to. You know what they like, what they dislike. So these are the things. This is why, because everybody know I don't support beating on children. It's ridiculous to me. It's violence, and that's why we have a violent country right now. But when people ask, well, what am I supposed to do? I tell them, I cannot tell you, because I don't know your child. I don't know your child's personality. I don't know what your child responds to. I don't know what they like. I don't know what they dislike. So I can't give you just a blanket way to discipline your child or raise your child. You understand? I have to learn that person, but we don't take the time to learn our children.
Yeah, and I think we miss opportunities for the reward and consequence aspect, where you could embed that seed in their minds so that they know, hey, I act a certain way, there's a consequence for this. And when I act a certain way and it's positive, there's a reward for that, because that's how life works.
Exactly.
You know, this is a bit of a spin-off, but what drives me crazy is when I see kids out. Like last week, I stood in a bank line for over an hour, and there was this 5-6-year-old boy standing there with his dad. His dad's on his phone, like this, and the kid's kind of standing there looking up, and what's that? Mike.
Yeah.
And the kid's standing there, and then after a while, the kid's obviously bored, right?
Right.
So he starts twirling around, and then he kind of starts looping through people and stuff. And,
Being a child.
Being a child.
Right.
Of course he's bored. His dad would be bored too if he didn't have his phone to occupy him, right? And then, he grabs him, yucks him over, whispers something in his ear, and then the kid stands there again. Dad's not interacting with him at all. And you see that all the time. Like, bring a toy for your kid, bring a book for them, or talk to them. That's a great time to get them to tell you what they're learning in school. Tell me your alphabet. Let's do some math problems together. Whatever. Like, I do not see anybody doing that. I see kids getting yelled at all the time, grabbed, yucked, spanked, whatever. I see very little. Hey, tell me what you learned. Oh, look at this. See what's happening? Or this is why I'm upset right now. I see very little of that. And it makes me so sad. And it makes me understand why kids are frustrated and they don't know how to act sometimes in social settings.
Exactly. In that example, when I picked up my daughter today, there was this, old lady. You could tell that she came to pick up a grandchild, because it wasn't a child. It was an old woman. But she came to pick up the child. And she had another child with her, I guess, who she picked up from a different school. And, he was being a kid. He probably didn't want to go into the school, so he was standing there or whatever. She, grab him up, yuck him up, take him inside, start hitting him. Bam, bam, bam. Listen to me. It took everything of my being not to say nothing. And it's like, it's so hard. Like, what do you say to a Bahamian or older, more settled Bahamian parent who grew up cutting hip? Me, who they gonna look at me as unqualified simply because I'm younger. Like, what do you say to somebody like that? You know what I mean? Because it really bothered me, because it's a child. The child had to have been about maybe 3 years old.
Hold on.
Maybe 3 years old.
Wow.
So a kid was yucked up and beat because he showed no interest in going to school where you're going to do something you're supposed to be doing with your pickup?
Yes. And it was like, my thing is, and this, the way I do it is like it goes back to knowing your children. Like, I know my child. If my child talk about, I don't want to go, you know what I can say? Okay, stay right there. And guess what gonna happen? She'll be right behind me. You understand? So if there are ways to do it. Once you learn your child, there are ways to do it. And that's one example, because like you say, it happens all the time. And what I've noticed is Bahamians tend to treat their children like an inconvenience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you are
That's the perfect
annoying,
description.
like you are an annoying inconvenience. Like you are stopping me from doing what I want to do, or you are just an interruption. Like that's how we treat our children.
And then we try and pawn them off on other people for significant amounts of time, and then wonder why, when we do want them around, or when there is a benefit to having them around, they're not interested in us.
And I want to address something as well because you are a teacher, but none of you have children. And what Bahamians like to do, they like to use that age-old excuse. Oh, well, you ain't got no children, so you ain't understand. And like I told you earlier, I think you may be more qualified than most parents because you deal with children all day on a daily basis, and not just one, you deal with multiple children, multiple personalities you have to manage. So teachers, to me, are probably more qualified because chances are they spend more time with your children than you.
But here's the thing, right? Even if she wasn't a teacher, what people have to understand is experience is everything. All of us has had experience as kids. Whether we remember what happened to us between the age of 0 to 5, we remember at least from 5, 6 to 16, 17. So that experience alone should help us to understand what kids go through, how they react to certain things, what is positive to them, what is negative to them, and how you feel when someone is shouting down at you, belittling you, embarrassing you in the front of your peers, and what type of stigma that means the day after when they have to go to school and face that ridicule for sometime months at, if not the rest of their school careers.
And what's interesting is that, parents will keep beating them, but isn't that the definition of insanity? Doing something over and over again, expecting different results.
And you know what's even crazier than that, Shar? What's even crazier, and this is what makes no sense to me. They would say, like when you challenge them and say, well, did you try an alternative? Did you speak to them this way? Be like, well, that didn't work. Well, the beating don't work either, because if beating worked, you would only have to do it once.
Yes, exactly.
You wouldn't have so you want to be consistent with the beating, but you don't want to be consistent with the other methods.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's ridiculous to me. It makes no sense.
No. I have been in a situation before where I had a student who was messing around in school sometimes, not doing his work, could have been doing much better, and normally the first thing you would do is you'd have a conversation with the parents and see how you could work something out. Maybe they can come in at lunchtimes and whatnot, right? But the first time I called his parents, then I found out the next day he's like practically not limping around, but he's kind of making a big deal out of the fact that he went home, he got beat. And so from then, I'm thinking, like, what can I do to not have to ever call home again? Because and I talked to the principal about it and stuff, because that was not something that I'm accustomed to, and she that's just, everybody just says that's how it is. It's not like it's but when you're 14, I mean, that's...
Oh, no, this was at the age of 14?
Yeah, this is 13 or 14. Like,
wow.
To me, that's not a spanking anymore. Like, I don't know. I don't know exactly what was going on, but if it's not working at that point, even if you are going to be a parent who uses corporal punishment on your kids, you do that to the extent that they learn that they don't do this, and then you expect that they have learned that lesson and you no longer have to do it.
Here's the thing with spanking. Beating kids or corporal punishment, right? People have no control over their own emotions. I think 99% of people should disqualify that because they beat out of anger. And when you beat out of anger, you're abusing the kid, right? To spank a child when they do something wrong as a consequence, when you're telling them or teaching them that, hey, this is wrong, this is the consequence, and you're planting that seed at them at 4 or 5. Not 4 or 5. Let's say 2 or 3. Like, that's fine, right? Hold on. It's okay, Greg.
For the people who are
Sure
listening,
you want-
that was
See,
almost
I won't
slap
go-
on the head.
Just follow.
I won't go down this road, Jay, because I can do a whole episode on
I know,
this.
but just listen.
Trust me.
Just
And
listen.
I-
He's
right?
just saying, hypothetically, if
Just
a parent were to
listen.
do
Just
that,
listen.
right?
They plant that seed there, right?
Right.
They do the stern talking to, and the child learns, right? When that child is 5, 6, or 7, and they probably regress back to that bad behavior, just the parents pitch and tone or level of seriousness will bring the child and say, okay, well, I'm messing up. Let me not do this, right? And by the time as they get to 12, 13, 14, they have developed to that stage where everything for them is 90% mental, 10% physical. So you have to go with that mental warfare with them and deal with more consequence than physical, because the more physical you get as kids get older, the more they will rebel, and they will look at that as you hate them.
But hold on, I want to address something that you say. I ain't gonna get into the.
No, I
ain't gonna get into the
respect your, I
no,
respect your level of thinking.
Yeah, that's why I ain't gonna get into the, But what I do want to address is you said something. You said they revert back to that bad behavior. What is that bad behavior?
It all depends, right? Some kids learn how to manipulate at a very early age. They learn, they disobey, they disrespect certain things. And some parents come from that school where that's the level of discipline that they know, and they know how to administrate it without abusing or hurting their kids. And if they start with that, if they plant that seed early and evolve with the child, I think that's okay. But when you taking your Timberland steel-toe boots and kicking someone about the face or giving them a proper beatdown like you in some Crip or Blood gang, that's a problem.
Yeah. But the thing is,
You
and
start with every explanation. This is why I.
Oh, well, all that's already get done.
No, let's not do that. That doesn't make any sense.
But the thing is, why I ask that is because what people consider that bad behavior to be are things like Shar described with the person in the bank. A child simply being a child.
Yeah.
Just having energy. Like
no. And I get that, and you need to know to discern between the two. But if you tell a kid that, hey, you know what? That if I put my money down, right? And my child knows that this is my money, and kids know certain things, and they take something from it and do whatever, and I looking for that, and I ask them, and they lie to me. They know what the consequences for lying. These things are laws that they know, and they break that law. That's a consequence. You have to break those habits.
I'm more of a taking
That's-
privileges kind of person.
No, but that comes with evolution.
But the other thing is, if you talk to your children enough, then they learn those laws and they learn why they're important, and they learn why you should treat people in a certain way. I don't know. Another thing that I was thinking of is this 2 or 3 year old that I saw on the beach one time that was running around and was trying to run too far. Parents didn't want to get up. So they got mad and they told the kid to sit right there, and the kid starts to cry. And then they're yelling, "Stop your crying, stop your crying." And when you're 2 or 3, you think you can stop your crying. Has anybody in the history of life ever stopped crying when somebody told them, "Stop your crying"?
I think I learned that trick at 8.
Basically not. So then eventually I hear the father say, "You better stop crying or you're going to get beat." Mm-hmm. So the child wants to play because you're on the beach, but you're too lazy to go over and play with your child. So that child is in trouble, and then they start to cry, and then you tell them not to cry or they're going to get beat.
it's
They fall in the 99.9%.
It makes no
that
sense.
should not administer corporal.
that should not be parents.
No. Exactly.
It should not be parents.
So at the end of the day, what are we doing in this country to train parents, to teach parents? There are no parenting classes in school, are there, that I'm aware of?
I think they do have
Have
some.
they
I think
started
they
that?
have parenting classes, but see, the thing with that,
Can't teach me how to be a parent.
Ex-
You can't tell me
it's,
nothing.
Exactly. It's a negative
Stigma.
attached to it, and they feel as though you are trying to say that they are bad. They don't look at it as.
Sorry, I mean in schools. Why are we not teaching?
Oh, you mean in schools first?
I know there's family consumer science and stuff, but how
I
are
mean,
we
that's-
teaching?
that's-
I think to teach, I think kids need to learn how to be kids. I don't think we need to teach them how to be parents. I think that's putting the cart before the
I took
horse.
a babysitting class when I was 12 or 13.
You grew up in Canada.
And-
That's not harmless.
No, but
But Canada is. But
Think
where do
about it.
where do Bahamians want to go?
Canada.
Yeah,
Okay
so
then.
think
So
about
they
it.
clearly they're doing something right.
If they had they could call it a babysitting class. You're learning the same things that you should know as a parent. You're learning basic first aid. You're learning basic cooking skills. You're learning how to change a diaper, how to deal with children's behavior issues.
I think teaching kids how to deal with life, the first aid and all that other stuff like that, that's different from preparing them to be parents. Because that's
no, you could.
Well, I mean, at a certain level,
it's
you could do it at a
preparing
certain level.
I think
I'm talking about babysitting class.
No, I think. You know how they do all this Lamaze and breathing classes? When you get pregnant, you need to enroll in a parenting class. I think that's where it's applicable. I don't think my potential 15, 16, 17-year-old, whether they decide to go to college, if someone telling me they have to take up a parenting class at 16, 17, me and that principal gonna have a big friggin' problem.
Why?
Because sex education is one thing. But saying that, hey, you know what?
But parenting should be a part of sex education.
You're the one who's saying that.
Hold on, Jay. Hold on, Jay. Hold on, Jay. Let me ask you something, man.
He's trumping you right now.
Hold on a hell of a... Hold on. Wrong. Listen to me and listen to me clearly. Sex education, to help them, to give them the tools, if they make that choice, is one thing. Right? If the chickens come home to roost.
You mean when it?
If the chickens come home to roost and you big up, whether you're a teenager or you're a 20-something-year-old or you're a 30-something-year-old expecting their first child, when you enroll in those Lamar classes or you go to get your prenatal care and all that stuff, a prerequisite of that is parenting class.
Here's why I disagree. Here's why I disagree.
That's where that's supposed
I disagree big time because you right now what you're doing is that's the Perry Christie PLP approach. What that is you waiting.
PLP just now.
Yeah, you waiting.
Take that boxer.
You know why? Because you waiting till it's too late. You already pregnant. Now we want to start teaching you to be a parent. How about we teach you what parenting is all about before you get pregnant so that you would know, and this is why it goes back to what we can say, and they keep making that mistake.
So
exactly. You would know, okay, maybe this ain't something that I want to gamble with right now because I learned how serious it is and how much it entails.
Costs, how much of my time.
Exactly. So I think you do it before. I don't think you wait till you get big up to do parenting classes.
But at 15, 16, 17?
How much? Come on, Jay.
Hear me out.
Come on, Jay. Don't act like
Jay.
12, 13-year-olds ain't having children. Let's not act like that ain't happening.
Listen for a second. So
here's the
Not
thing.
willingly, I don't think.
What you mean?
Not willingly. A lot. I think I'm gonna be very conservative. I'm going to be very, very conservative and think and take on this stance. Any child,
Conservative or naive?
I'm not saying any child between the ages of 10 and 13 that are having kids are being preyed upon and they are victim of sexual crimes. That's not anybody. I believe anybody between ages.
So
of
what if
15 and
what
above,
if so what if the child?
possibly it was consensual.
What if the girl is
consensual
12?
act?
What if the girl is 12 and the boy is 13? What do you call that?
Yeah. It happens.
I think that's enough.
Because it's not
And you know
only.
why it's happening? Because people don't have parenting skills.
Exactly.
And those 12 and 13-year-olds that have a baby, their kids are going to have a baby in their teens. And then the
cycle continues because you don't address the issue from the root.
And here,
People are getting gang up on by two very liberal people. I'm very conservative.
What is the harm in teaching somebody what family life should be?
Family life. See, I just think I'm getting caught up on the gravity of what parenting is and the level of stress and putting that on kids that are supposed to be.
You're not see, and that's the thing. You looking at it. I think you're looking at it wrong. I think you looking at it as you putting it or forcing it on them. This goes back.
This could be an option.
Right, and it goes back to what I said earlier. Is instead of you going back, you reverting back to you say you being conservative, you reverting back to that restriction. No, I don't tell my child about this. No, let me put up this wall. Let me put this wall bigger than Donald Trump wall. I don't want none of that to come in here. You understand?
It's going to
but
be
that's,
great.
but
It's going
that's,
to be great.
I'm pretty sure it will be. But that's the thing. You trying to put up this wall as opposed to exposing your children to things and teaching them about it. Like, this is what this is. This is what happens if you do this. These are the consequences of said actions.
So all of that is going to be in sex education.
It should be it's all encompassing.
Okay.
Because how a baby's made.
Okay, hold on. If it's all in sex education and it's not some main curriculum and you're not trying to because you're programming, I'm into that.
No,
But
it's
if
not.
you-
It's not programming.
It's not meant to be.
Religion is programming.
It's not meant.
This
to
is
be,
education.
Oh, we think you're going to get knocked out.
I know you're going to
early.
throw that low blow. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
That's fine.
Religion is programming. We talking about education. We ain't talking about programming.
Okay,
We ain't talking about telling you how you should do things. We are educating you about what happens when you do certain things. The results of your actions. That's education. We are not imposing it on you.
Do you remember that woman told us in Switzerland, you have to take a class and then you have to take like 6 weeks of obedience lessons or something before you can own a dog. You cannot get a dog license until you take a class, pay this fee, blah, 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 all this stuff. So their dogs
We love our animals.
are trained so well that you don't really even need a leash half the time because they respond to their owner so well and the dogs are very well trained. So you need all of that training to have a dog, but you don't need anything to be a parent. And all around the world, kids are just being raised in these horrible situations. A lot of homes with not a lot of love, not a lot of support, and then we're wondering why we end up with teen mothers because they find Jim Bob loves them so much. So
Jim Bob.
if they want to keep his love,
That sounds so redneck.
Yeah,
She's a redneck.
That's the most white name I ever.
you guys are talking Trump. I got it. I don't know.
But that is true, and I think that's the root of the issue. Is
People are looking for love
in the
and
wrong
belonging,
places.
and there's not.
Okay, so y'all won that one. Y'all won me over.
No, it's not a win or a lose.
No. And when you have conversations like
Right.
this, you have to do it in a way where you could bring someone or align someone with a way of thinking, or you're wasting your air.
Yeah.
So,
But it's just a matter of perspective. It's just providing
and
different
thank you
perspectives.
for bringing me into the light.
Yes, it's just a matter. That's the purpose of these conversations. Oh,
That's
jeez.
because you wouldn't let me speak, sir.
Yeah, I don't appreciate you talking, and you better get yourself when you speak to this young lady. You hear me? Get yourself. Shine, anytime you get out of line, call me, eh?
I could be a real nasty woman.
But it's having conversation. I think that's the problem in this country is we don't have the necessary conversations, and the problem is it's about winning and losing. Like it's an argument, and you just trying to make your point more right than the other person's point, as opposed to coming down off your pedestal and off your soapbox and actually listening, being objective and being open to receiving new information and being willing to look at it from a different perspective. Because one of the hardest places to get out of is your own perspective. So you just take what the other person is saying and look at it from that angle. And I think that's what we don't do enough. And this is why we have so much conflict, because everybody just want to look at other people and point fingers and don't want to take themselves out of their own perspective and hear the person out and get an understanding of as where the person coming from. And we too like tradition in this country. We don't like to break away from tradition. You understand? So we need to start to evolve and look at things differently and address the root, as opposed to just calling everybody bad parents or bad students. Find out why they are the way they are, why they react the way they react. And like Shar said, I think it's just a lack of love in the right place. Like, they ain't getting that love at home. That's why the child wanted Shar to adopt her, because maybe she felt a sense of love and caring that she missing at home.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing that it was the Shar, because, but let's look at it like this. Suppose now, okay, Shar wasn't able to adopt her, but does she still have that hole? She's still seeking that
She can
love.
fill that void somewhere.
And it can come somewhere, and it might be from, who she say, Jimmy Bob?
The bus driver.
It might be the jitney driver on the 21A who tell her she look good when she in her school uniform, and then we know where again up.
Yeah.
So
It's
we have to
sad.
address, it's sad, we have to address that lack of love issue when it comes to the household. And as neighbors or as a community, we need to stop being so judgmental and just be saying, oh, well, that ain't my child. That's a bad parent.
And you know what's interesting about that? We're talking about this right now like it's just lower socioeconomic status. But it's not. It's actually like rich, poor, all over. Some parents just aren't spending time with their kids. Some parents, you know, we're talking about parents who work 2 jobs to support their families. What about kids who grow up with doctors? You know, don't worry. I know they still have less struggle than certain people.
Shit.
Wow.
But I mean, some kids go home to no parents. Some kids go like
literally,
and maybe they have a housekeeper, maybe they have 3 housekeepers, but they still are feeling that void. And I've seen it time and again where the kids just don't feel secure in that environment. You know?
Yeah. So that's this issue we got to deal with. I mean, I wish we could have dove deeper into it because I'm enjoying this conversation, but I do have to run. I gotta go catch the store, and then I gotta get home for a certain time. So we could wrap this episode up. It was a short one, but it was a sweet one. I think we
certain time you're on curfew.
No, not curfew, but you know when you see you all getting married, right? Let me break this one down for you. You get married, right? Let's say you going somewhere and Shar say, well, I want to go to something for a certain amount of time. But you got to be home if you all have a child.
Oh, okay. You're going to do your duties.
You understand? That's parenting.
Because he's a good parent.
That's parenting. See, and that's an example of parenting. If the other parent want to go somewhere.
What? I'm really glad you didn't say I have to go babysit. Because that is another pet peeve when fathers say, oh, I'm babysitting tonight.
No, you don't babysit your own children. Yeah, you don't babysit your own children. So, yeah, that's it. It's not a curfew. The other parent wants to go out. So, I have to be home to take over my part. It's my shift. Good. So, I have to go fulfill my shift. So we have to cut this one a little bit short than normal, but it was a great conversation. Thank you, Shar. It's been wonderful. I wish we could get you more often, but you're so busy. But we'll get you at some point. We just need to work out some scheduling somehow. You're too busy, you know, adopting children and raising children and all that stuff. We got to do that episode. Thank you again, once again, Jay. Appreciate it, as always. And thank you for listening.